We begin this hour with a Fox News alert. Two huge stories breaking right now. First, reports that a 9th and a 10th little boy have just been pulled out of that cave in Thailand. A look moments ago as the ambulance was leaving that area.
An intense story that continues. The rescue mission now in its third day, still underway as we go to air.
We will be live in Thailand in just a few moments.
But we begin with President Trump's Supreme Court pick, Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
And he is headed to Capitol Hill this morning. The sales job begins. He's got to go up there. He's going to be escorted by Vice President Mike Pence, among others. This is looking like a very strong pick right out of the gate. There were indications 24 hours ago that the president was headed in this direction. This is somebody who, the president likes to pick people when he talks about the defense secretary at the beginning of the administration. Mad Dog Mattis. People around him say he likes to say, I want someone at a central casting. When he thinks of the defense secretary, he's thinking about someone with the leadership qualities of a Mad Dog Mattis. When he's thinking about a Supreme Court justice, it's Brett Kavanaugh, 53 years old, Yale Law School, clerked for Justice Kennedy, and somebody who last night said, the framers established that the Constitution is designed to secure the blessings of liberty.
That's right. What's amazing is that a sales job would be needed at all for Brett Kavanaugh. Talk about someone who, some have speculated over the last couple of decades, no one more eminently qualified as far as their background to be a Supreme Court nominee. Young guy, young family, has been on the D.C. Circuit Court for a dozen years, has a track record of being conservative, and has the qualifications. And in yesteryears, he would have been a 99-0 vote, right?
Right.
Today, he will be contentious because the resistance, of course, continues.
The resistance, the liberal groups and Democratic lawmakers, they were on the steps of the Supreme Court yesterday, last night, because they don't like this pick. They are resisting anyone the president. The Women's March sent out a press release accidentally without filling in the name. They resisted.
We oppose XX.
We oppose XX. They forgot to fill in the name. Now, if you missed last night's announcement, we've got you covered. This is what the president said as he was introducing Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
It is my honor and privilege to announce that I will nominate Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court. I know the people in this room very well. They do not stand and give applause like that very often. What matters is not a judge's political views, but whether they can set aside those views to do what the law and the Constitution require. I am pleased to say that I have found, without doubt, such a person. The rule of law is our nation's proud heritage, and the Senate now has the chance to protect this glorious heritage by sending Judge Brett Kavanaugh to the United States Supreme Court.
And I'm telling you, watching that live and then watching Brett Kavanaugh step up to the podium and give the speech that he gave, you kind of sit there going, good luck trying to not confirm this guy.
Well, they're trying to demonize him. The left is trying to demonize him right out of the gate. You saw that beautiful family with him, number one. Yeah. His wife's school teacher, young daughters. He had some funny stuff to say about how the elder daughter likes to read a lot of books. The younger one likes to talk a lot.
He coaches their girls' basketball team. They call him Coach K. He's the other Coach K.
But oh, by the way, what Republican Senator Lindsey Graham said last night, you'd even want him as a neighbor because he talked about Father John Ensler, someone I know in Washington who runs Catholic Charities.
Yes.
And is very, very aggressive about waking people up, not just Catholics, people of all faith, and saying, what are you doing to feed the homeless? What are you doing to help people, to help others less fortunate than you? And Brett Kavanaugh is one of those gentlemen who has reached great heights in Washington. Maybe he'll be confirmed to greater heights, but is constantly giving back to the community. He does it. It's not just for show. And so that's what you need to know about the man. And then what the president was talking about, what Kavanaugh was talking about himself, was his approach to the law, his approach to the Constitution.
And it's wonderful to see his family there. He introduced her, talked to his parents, that he was an only child, humanized himself, but most importantly, what many people went to the polls to vote for, they wanted a Supreme Court justice that was going to adhere to the Constitution. And he says he reveres the Constitution and he will keep an open mind in every case. Listen.
Philosophy is straightforward. A judge must be independent and must interpret the law not make the law. A judge must interpret the Constitution as written, informed by history and tradition and precedent. If confirmed by the Senate, I will keep an open mind in every case, and I will always strive to preserve the Constitution of the United States and the American rule of law.
That's what you want to hear. If you're a conservative, you want someone who says the Constitution was intended by our framers to set a guideline for our government, and we're going to adhere to that, not make it up, not interpret it differently based on the times, but the free peoples govern themselves based on that.
But
exactly.
actually interpret the Constitution. And there are Democrats immediately frustrated out of the gate. Elections have consequences. President Trump put on the table the names of 25 people he would nominate to the court. And as Ainsley said, he put that front and center in the campaign in the way that Hillary Clinton did not. And so these 25 people, which included Judge Kavanaugh, their credentials have been on the table for almost 2 years now. For everyone to look through and find something that shows they're not qualified. Instead of going after qualifications, they're going after ideology. He's a bad guy. We want to tear him down. He wants to overturn Roe v. Wade. And minutes after this nomination, the resist movement was in full swing.
Yeah, if you don't believe us, take a look.
We must ensure that we defeat Brett Kavanaugh. All our rights are at stake.
We are in the fight of our lives.
He is a dangerous man who will endanger our fundamental freedoms.
This just must not become the next justice on the Supreme Court. And what that will take is all of us fighting as hard and as long as we can.
I am not going to kid anybody. This is a tough fight, but it is a fight that we can win.
Wow, all sounds super rational to me. But to your point, Ed, elections have consequences. If you're a conservative and you're meh on this justice, imagine who Hillary Clinton would have nominated, who she would have chosen. As a result, we have someone who has faithfulness to the Constitution, who is eminently qualified, and they could scream, Bernie can scream all he wants outside the Supreme Court into the microphone, but ultimately it's going to be tough. Especially some of these Democrats in states that Trump won to vote against someone like this,
carried by the president,
who, my goodness, is qualified.
You bring up an excellent point. No matter if Kavanaugh was your pick or not, we've interviewed so many judges over the last few weeks that have said, I want this person, I want that person. No matter who your pick is, if you're a conservative, you're waking up this morning just thankful it's not Hillary Clinton picking someone. Now, Republicans only hold a mere 50-49 Senate majority lead. So Senator McCain is absent because of his illness. So defection of one Republican would mean that this nominee is killed unless you get a Democrat that comes over. And you're mentioning Joe Manchin. Joe Manchin said that he wants to know his stance on Obamacare, critical to protect his 800,000 constituents with pre-existing conditions. North Dakota's Heidi Heitkamp is another one. Up for re-election in a red state. These are Democrats. Thoroughly going to review and vet his record, she says. And Indiana's Joe Donnelly says he's going to weigh in on his record and his qualifications.
Those
do you
three
think they could have
Democrats
played
voted for Gorsuch.
Do you think they could have played into it? Susan Collins, Lisa Murkowski, they were big on precedent Roe v. Wade. Kavanaugh has not been heavy on that issue.
If you had gone with Amy Coney Barrett, she was more directly hostile, in the words of moderate Republicans and liberals, to Roe v. Wade, and would have put it on the table in a more direct way. People believe that Kavanaugh is conservative, but will probably respect the precedent that Roe v. Wade's been on the books for 46 years.
Maybe more incremental than
And there may be incremental restrictions on abortion, but he's less likely, we don't know for sure, but he's less likely to support actually overturning Roe v. Wade.
And I think Judge Amy Barrett, I don't think this is the last we're going to hear of her for a justice seat if another justice steps down, because this is the second time he's looked at her. She was number 2 for Gorsuch.
She has plenty of time to still be nominated, absolutely. And I
46, she's very young.
46 years
Amazing.
old. Kavanaugh,
I agree. 46 is
That's
young.
why you saw the left freaking out there, because this president is reshaping the court. So what do you think?
Indeed.
Send us your comments, friends at foxnews.com.
Now, we mentioned our other big breaking story this hour. We can now confirm that a 9th boy has been rescued from that cave in Thailand.
An ambulance seen leaving the scene this morning. The rest of the soccer team is still trapped. That means 2 boys down there and the coach.
Jeff Paul is live on the scene in Thailand. Jeff, what are you hearing?
Well, it seems like rescue crews are picking up the pace, and that would make sense. They're trying to get out more boys than they ever have before. A total of 4 boys, their coach, and then the remaining crews who are inside, like the Navy SEALs and the doctor who are caring for them now. Out here, the police are getting ready to almost receive that ambulance. They'll land by a helicopter likely, come down this road, go past this roadblock. The road will be closed off, and then they'll join their teammates who are currently inside this hospital here. There's 8 of them inside. Now, a little bit more about what we could expect with today's rescue. 19 divers are involved, and the rescue crews seem very confident that they'll get the remaining players and coach out. The order will be the boys first, obviously, then the coach, then the doctor, then the 3 SEAL officers. The rescue mission could actually include 9 people. Now, the doctor and the Navy SEALs have been inside. The only concern right now is the rain, and so that is sort of what they're working against. Mother Nature, they feel confident that they've been pumping out enough water, and it seems like the pace is picking up, so it seems the conditions inside this cave are proving to be very helpful to get this unprecedented amount of boys and their coach out to safety. Back to you.
All right, fast. Jeff Paul on the scene. We appreciate it. There are unconfirmed reports that as many as 11 boys may be out of the cave. I mean, you think, I was filling in for Shannon Bream a few days ago, and I talked to a former Navy SEAL who was saying, look, I'm hoping, I'm praying, but I'm not very optimistic at this moment because this is going to be a monumental operation. And to think that just a few days later, we now may have 11 of the 12 boys still have the coach waiting in there. Remarkable. Remarkable.
Indeed. That's right. For sure.
Turning now to some other headlines. Dozens of illegal immigrant children set to reunite with their families ahead of today's deadline. The DOJ says 54 out of nearly 100 children under the age of 5 will join their parents. The remaining children are undergoing background checks or have parents that are deported or unfit to take them. Meantime, a dozen protesters thrown in jail after blocking an Ohio ICE office with a 2-story tripod made out of wood and chanting at police.
ICE cops and Klan! Go ahead!
ICE, cops, and Klan go hand in hand, they said. In Portland, Oregon, 2 federal officers were injured trying to break up another ICE protest. The president and first lady heading to the NATO summit in Brussels in just a few hours. President Trump's expected to push our allies to pay more for defense spending. The U.S. contributes almost 72% of NATO's total defense budget. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo will meet the president in Brussels after wrapping up his Asian tour. And now to a Fox News alert. Actor George Clooney hit by a car in Italy. Local reports say the actor was riding a scooter when it was collided with a pickup on the island of Sardinia. He is there working on some TV miniseries. We don't know exactly how badly he was hurt, but there are reports that he's being discharged from the hospital.
Wish him well.
And those are your headlines.
Wish him well. Look out for the scooter. Wish him well. That can be
These things are dangerous. Wear a helmet if you have one.
Hey, Fox News alert. We are just told there are reports of 11 kids rescued from that cave in Thailand. A former Navy SEAL joins us to give his insight on the 3rd day of this rescue mission next.
And even members of her own party want her out. But Nancy Pelosi says she's not going anywhere. Is it just time for her to move on? We'll debate it. Fair and balanced, just ahead.
I'm a master legislator. I am a strategic, politically astute leader.
This is a Fox News alert, a live look in Thailand where moments ago an 11th person reportedly was pulled out of that flooded cave. Rescue crews rushing to save the remaining boy, still trapped for more than 2 weeks, and the coach. David Rutherford is a former Navy SEAL and host of the Team Never Quit podcast with Marcus Luttrell, and he joins us now to weigh in. Thank you so much, David, for joining us, and thanks for your service. So what is you're welcome. Tell us about your experience and how you would have done this rescue, if you would have done anything differently.
No, I mean, everything I've watched so far is absolutely incredible. When you have over 1,000 people coming together, 90 divers, from Thailand, from different countries, from Britain, coming together for this insane rescue, an 11-hour round trip for all these kids, I think they're doing incredibly.
What is the difference in trying to rescue a child and the coach? Because I'm thinking there's some tight quarters that might be easier to get a child through. A coach, obviously 25 years old, he's going to be bigger, he's going to be taller. Have you experienced anything like that, and how can you weigh in on that?
I think the biggest challenge, right, is psychologically, or what are those little boys going to be thinking, what they're going to be doing. Apparently, many of them don't even know how to swim. They've never, much less dive. So putting them in a confined space with a face mask, that's what you're really worried about. As a combat medic and dive medic, you know, the greatest thing you have to worry about is obviously breathing oxygen and whether or not they're going to AGE or embolize, and just keeping them calm as they snake through that maze of that cave system.
And some of these psychological effects, some of the mental state of these children, that might surface later, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's impossible to tell just the severity of it, but, you know, obviously claustrophobia, any other types of bad dreams, all this stuff is hopefully through great counseling afterwards, which there's already great reports that they have.